today's lesson, you're going to need your Icky book. On page 9 of our Icky book, we see pictures in order of how the Super Kids made a pretend TV. Let's look at the first picture and see what the Super Kids gathered to make this pretend TV, or what their supplies are. Supplies are materials, are the things that they're going to use to make something. So we see a scissors and a clock that looks broken, some bottles. This says glue, that's a glue bottle, and a jar of peanut butter. And then this giant box. Interesting. Now look at the next two pictures. Let's see what the Super Kids are doing. Here they look like they're holding some of the supplies. Cass is pointing to something. And then in the third picture, it looks like they started building this TV. I see there's a big hole in the box now. And they have some of the lids or the bottle caps. And then they're doing something with the clock there. Let's look at the last picture. The last picture shows the pretend TV that they made. And who is looking around? Dolly. There's no color on this last picture, is there? Interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to read some sentences. And when you hear the picture that I'm talking about, I want you to point to that picture. So, first, the Super Kids gathered materials. Where is the picture where it shows the materials or the supplies that the Super Kids gathered? Next, they talked about how to use the materials. So now we're pointing to this picture because they're talking to each other about what they're going to do with all that stuff they gathered. Then they use the materials to make the TV. And finally, the TV is finished. Have you ever made anything out of a big box before? That could be pretty fun. I've made a dollhouse. I should bring that dollhouse in to show you because it is, I made it last year when Lily was playing in her dollhouse when we learned about that, and I made it out of a giant box. I should bring that in to show you next week. These pictures are in a certain order, and that order tells the story of how they made this pretend TV. When we read stories, we want to remember the order of things and when they happened. Otherwise, we might forget the story, or we might not understand it, or we might be confused. You can use your crayons to color the TV in the last picture there. On page 10 and 11, you just can't see my whole page 11, we have our second story that we're reading in our Super Kids book. So you remember the story we read about Sal, where he had a punching bag and there was a hole in it and all the air went out, and then Doc helped him fix it. That was our very first story in our Super Kid books that we ever got to read, and now we get to read another one, and this one has a different title. The title is right up here in these red letters. Try reading the title. This story is called Icky. It's Icky's name. And when we look at the pictures, what do you see? What do you notice? I see a lot of different Super Kids, and they're dressed up in different costumes. They're also inside that pretend TV that the Super Kids made. I think the Super Kids are pretending to be on TV, and they're dressed up like different characters. This story has those special little pictures called rebuses. The rebus is the picture instead of a word in a sentence. So if you'll notice in this story, there's a whole ton of them, and they will help us understand and read a little better. There's also a special word with a line underneath it. This special word is the word and it's in every single sentence in this story, and it's going to help us read. So when we see this word with the line underneath it, we're going to say and then we're going to have to, of course, say what the picture is in the rebus. So our first job is to put the story kind of back together. If you notice, there's words missing in each sentence, and we can't read the sentence if there are words missing. Our job is to look at who is in the picture or who is in the pretend TV, and then we're going to find their name down here or on this page, and we're going to glue it in the correct space. So before we can do that, you will need to cut. Please do not cut through your whole book. Remember to cut only through one page at a time. Who is our friend that is in the very first picture? That is our friend Icky. You need to find the word that spells icky with that uppercase letter I. It has black letters. Once you find it, you can glue it in that correct space. And then we can try the sentence. Icky is a police officer. And remember, when we see the picture and there are no words, we just say what it is. So let's try this sentence one more time. Icky is a police officer. Do you notice how I'm pointing to each word when I say it, even the rebus at the end? And my finger moves as I say each word. And did you also notice this teeny tiny little dot at the end? That is one of our normal voice periods. So we are not going to read this sentence like Icky is a police officer. And we're not going to read it like Icky is a police officer. We're going to read it with our normal voice. Icky is a police officer. Who is our next super kid in the picture that's next to Icky? This is our friend Sal. So you need to find Sal's name. Think about that beginning letter that you hear, and that will help you find the name a little faster. Sal. I see it right here with these blue letters. Once we glue it down, then we can try reading the sentence. Sal is a football player. So Sal's pretending to be a football player. Who is our next super kid? Golly. And Golly is dressed up like a clown. So find Golly's name. Golly. And we'll glue it right in that box. Then we can read. Golly is a clown. Who is our next super kid? That is Alf. What is Alf pretending to be? It looks like a monster, doesn't it? Let's find Alf's name. Here it is in kind of purplish letters. And we'll glue that by Alf. Then we can read. Oh, I almost covered up one of the letters here. I gotta move Alf's name over, otherwise I won't be able to read that word. Okay, let's try reading this sentence. Alf is a monster. And then we have 4 super kids left. So who is next? Oswald. Find Oswald's name and glue in the box. Oswald starts with an uppercase O. Oswald. What is Oswald dressed up like? A cowboy. Oswald is a cowboy. cowboy. Read that with me one more time. Make sure you're pointing. Oswald is a cowboy. All right, who is our next super kid? Well, we only have 3 choices left. That's Doc. Doc. With that uppercase D. What is Doc pretending to be? Doc is pretending to be a farmer. Let's read that sentence. Finger should start pointing at Doc's name. Doc is a farmer. All right, so 2 names left, 2 friends left. Who's this? Lily. Let's put Lily's name in the box. And then we can read, what is she pretending to be? A doctor. Let's read that sentence. Lily is a doctor. And of course, then that makes the last one Cass. And Cass is pretending to be a black cat. Cass is a cat. Great. So what I would like you to do is take a video on Class Dojo and take a video of yourself reading the sentences in this story. So let's practice reading it all together one more time. That way you will really read well when you take your video to send to me. Okay? Icky is a police officer. Sal is a football player. Golly is a clown. Alf is a monster. Oswald is a cowboy. Doc is a farmer. Lily is a doctor. Cass is a cat. Great!